Smile. Thank you, everybody. We'll return to our committee of the whole meeting for May 13th. Our next item under reports from administration is 5.2, stage 2 Lupin Way. And I will turn this over to Mr. McLaughlin.
Thank you, and through the chair to all of committee. We've put together a similar package for the Lupin Way proposed project. However, this one has progressed quite differently. We again went through and put together a backgrounder. It reduced the developer's concerns in many areas because it's covered under offsite levies. You know, we're probably still a little ways apart in some of the issues, but the real positive thing is they wanted to get started by subdividing off one multi-residential lot. It's in alignment with the area structure plan. It's adjacent to existing pavement. It has the potential to be an apartment style building, and so we've allowed them to proceed with that quite quickly. They've already made the application. The application's already in circulation, and so there's already some progress with this one. Again, our actual recommendation is to accept this report for information, as we would continue to work with the developer throughout the rest of the process as he wants to do further developments. But again, that's not what he's looking for. In his original letter, he's looking for the relocation of the developer's on-site water line. This is referring to a water line that the previous landowner installed for future development. If when you change the layout of your development, you change the required location of the water line, and he's looking for the town to contribute to that cost. Administration wouldn't support doing that. Completion of all costs related to road upgrades to Keel Drive. The previous developer had committed to all the costs up front of Keel Drive, and then they would be reimbursed as other development happened, up to about 50% of the cost. With this, our proposal was that we could probably get away with doing 2 lanes now with the option of building 4 lanes later, because, you know, the need to be 4 lanes right away is going to take a long time. So we, you know, to make the development more reasonable, we thought, if he designed it to only do 2 lanes now, and similar to the, you know, the Keel Road would be, is actually on that property. So it's actually an on-site improvement, or at least a portion of it is. And, you know, these things would be negotiated at the developer's agreement. But, you know, at a starting point, we feel that the developer should pay for some of the Keel Drive development. The offsite utility cost to the project. It depends what you're referring to there. In our sit down and in the attached backgrounder, a lot of the utility costs would be required by the town because of our offsite levy bylaw. And then they were also asking us to waive our subdivision costs related to the project, which is not a good precedent that we feel council should set as other. Could
you just say that part again, please?
So I'm just kind of going through the points for option 2 in the recommendations, and I'm going through the developers requested A, B, C, and D. And I'm now on letter D, the waiving of subdivision costs related to the project. We didn't feel that waiving our subdivision costs would bring a set a good precedent for council as we charge all those developers those types of costs on an ongoing basis. And I think with that, I would be willing to take any questions.
Thank you. Mr. McLaughlin, committee, any questions on this report? Councilor Taylor.
Is Keel Drive a arterial road or a collector road?
It is a future arterial road.
Are they paying off-site levies on it?
Yes.
Then why are you asking them to pay additional costs for an arterial road? You pay off-site levies in order not to pay additional costs. What's the rationale for that?
A good portion of Keel Road is actually on site. And the developer plans to use it as an additional access into his into his subdivision that he's planning, and so there's a direct benefit for it. I think it would be appropriate that they would pay for some of Keel Drive. We've clearly said that they wouldn't be paying for all of it. We were putting forward a suggestion of 50% of a 2-lane construction is what we were suggesting to be a good starting point for negotiation, which would be, essentially 1 lane of it.
Follow up, please.
Yes.
Oh, so over that portion of the road that's within the development, are they also paying off-site levies, or is that being deducted from off-site levies so that they can pay this cost? So it's only that portion of the development that they're paying twice for.
Yeah, when I went through it and looked at that and looked at it from that angle, I still think it's fair to require them to pay something, especially consider that the previous owner was going to be paying 100% of 4 lanes and getting reimbursed 50% of that over a very long time as the rest developed. But I thought it would be fair to ask for some contribution as opposed to the town having to construct that where we wouldn't normally be constructing.
Thank you, Mr. McLaughlin. Councilor Taylor.
Yeah. We'll follow up. So with that answer, I will assume that they're paying double costs on at least a portion of the road. Am I in queue for another question?
No one else in queue. If you have one, go ahead.
I'm really unclear. Is this the part of the report that has the Qualico stuff in it?
Yes.
Well, unclear because that's irrelevant. Those conditions no longer match, and that's from a 20-year-old agreement. Not only is it from a 20-year-old agreement, but it's from an agreement that potentially scared a developer away from this town. So why would we be referring to an agreement like that when we want to encourage developers?
Through the chair to all committee, I think it's really good background information and good historical information on why we have what we have to date and why certain things are developed and not developed.
And CEO Panassi has his hand up, so I'll let him also weigh in. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, through the rest of council. The other reason for that is those requirements were actually on title. And so we had discharged all of those requirements in order to facilitate the sale to KLD. So those were, otherwise subject, KLD would have purchased it with those conditions. We have removed those, but it is, again, good historical documentation of how it was that developer's agreement was organized at the time.
Wait a second, could I have a follow-up? That answer I'm confused about. So we discharged it, but yet it's still relevant in historical information. it was relevant and it's good information, why didn't we discharge that obligation when we sold the property?
CEO Patrick?
Through the chair to members of council, mainly because we didn't know what the new developers wanted to develop. So, you know, we had discharged it for that reason, with the understanding that once they came forward with a development, then a new development agreement would be put in place.
Thank you. Councilor Stash.
Mr. Chair, so in this situation, there must have been a conversation between the current owner and town of Hinton before they purchased the property, because they obviously submitted a request to discharge the conditions that were filed on title. Were they aware at that time that when they got to the development permit stage in this project, that there was very likely going to be additional developer contributions for off-site improvements that were going to need to be made? Sorry, I'll leave it at that for now.
CEO Patrick? Or Mr. McLaughlin, whichever.
Through the chair, I believe they had access to all of the requirements of Qualico at the time that they purchased. So I think it would be, you know, I think it'd be reasonable that they were aware that there would be some offsite costs that were associated with the project.
Committee, any other questions or directions at this point? Councilor Stasher?
I do have another question.
Sorry.
Information item in the implications of decisions section under the capital cost part. There's three different price estimates, option 1, option 2, option 3. Could administration just highlight which options those are referring to?
CEO Patrick?
Thank you, Chair. Option 1, we had included the 12.6 because that is the approximate cost of offsite development to the town if this property was to be built out. So at a baseline level, we are potentially on the hook for right around that 12.6 number. Part of the request for additional subsidies or commitments was for 14.1 million. That's about an additional 2 at the request of the developer. Option 3 is referring to taking another look at our West Area structure plan and any of the associated utility master plans alongside it to maybe look at a new design that would possibly be a little bit a little bit more reasonable for everybody. You know, we did identify a few issues with that West Area structure plan and the design by, you know, going around the golf course to connect to the other side and looking at a series of overpasses and crossings within the golf course. We think that would, you know, that would be very difficult to accomplish and likely very expensive. And it could possibly be one of the reasons that Keel was originally designed to be a 4-lane road. So by taking a look at the West Area structure plan and the associated wastewater master plans, we think that a new design could make the whole, you know, the entirety of the area a little bit more attractive for development and a little bit less expensive for the town. But there's a lot of plans at play. That's a very high level estimate. So.
I think I was unclear in the question. Where are option 1, option 2, and option 3 that are related to those numbers? Where are they in this report?
Through to committee, that's under the options section. Options and alternatives.
Option one that we were accept as information is gonna cost 12.6 million. I'm not following.
Through,
the chair. Through the chair of the committee, if you go to page 36 of your council package, there is some costs there, and
Which attachment?
It's not,
Mr.
yeah,
McLaughlin?
it's not packaged that way when we do it through Civic Web.
oh, okay, so it's in the backgrounder report. And it is towards the very end of the backgrounder report. The last 2 pages of the backgrounder report has 3 columns. There's a total cost, there's the town cost and the developer cost based on going through the reports. So if you total up the town costs, you get the total for option 1, and then the extra $2 million would be if you granted all the things that the developer is asking us for with option 2, that would add about the $2 million to the town side of the ledger. Whereas just by allowing the development to happen, we'll be on the hook for $12 million.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
So the further clarification before we move on to this, if we were to accept this report for information, that would be optimal to 12 million, because my understanding is if we went through with the development, it would be 12 million. Option 2 is then the 14 million with these additional things that are being asked of the town. Is that correct? If we were to move, say, option under the options alternatives, option 2 would be 14 million. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. And then option 3 is we go back and we do the West Area Structure Plan. And that would be the 50 to 100,000. Correct? Yes?
Yes, so through the chair of the committee, yes, so a lot of these numbers are actually coming out of our existing master plans as existing projects the town has to complete, and it's all, these numbers probably in most part are in those outstanding asset management numbers. And so a lot of these projects are needed as we get growth and development. And so if we see this whole area develop and we see part 999 develop, these are going to be triggered and necessary, and they were all outlined in our the various master plans that we went through as part of preparing this report.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Taylor.
Yeah, I'd like to seek consensus. Consensus I'd like to seek is, bear with me. Seek consensus that any construction costs for Kyle Drive that are covered by offsite levies, that the developer shouldn't have to pay extra costs.
We'll just kind of slow down a little bit for Miss David Campbell to catch up to you, please. You can bring it up, there you go, then we can watch. Committee seek consensus that any
Construction costs for Kyle Drive that are covered by, I'm sorry,
construction costs for Kyle Drive
that are covered, let me set your own numbers in place, that are covered by offsite levies, comma, that the developer shouldn't have to pay extra costs. I think, may I speak?
yeah, you can speak to it.
My questioning regarding the arterial road thing, the answer indicated to me that, at least part of the road, he's paying the offsite levies and he's gonna be paying extra costs And that's the purpose of, offsite levies, is that you pay offsite levies so that the costs of the thing are, you don't have to pay extra costs for that, and that's one of the, fundamental differences that I understand it, that this, developer has with the town. So this is one way to, relieve one point of contention, otherwise what are offsite levies for? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Taylor. Councilor Stashik.
And Mr. Chair, what's our current charge for offset levies?
Welcome, Mr. CEO.
I will have that answer for you in a brief second.
342.
So for this particular property, we have shown the calculations for the offsite, the offsite levies. And it's based on the levy rate per hectare. But you, in the report for this particular property, it'll be $809,131 in offsite levies for this property, which is 12.05 hectares.
If I could follow up.
Yeah.
Point of order, that's not the question you asked. Yes, what's the cost for offsite levies for the road?
Mr. Chair, that question's been adequately answered. I was going to do math. I didn't realize they had the total available. That's fine.
Thank you.
If I could follow up. Total cost for estimated offsite improvements would be 12.6.
That 12 number in the report, which is 12.6.
Okay, so if I may.
Yeah.
It seems to me to be patently unreasonable to only charge a developer $800,000 to offset a $12 million cost. If you do research on what offsite levies are for, it is what they're for, but they're not full contributors to covering the cost of offsite improvements, is my understanding. Be corrected if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that if there are additional offsite improvement costs that go above and beyond what the offsite levies would cover, the developer is still typically responsible for those. Am I correct?
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm just saying, it seems silly to me to expect that the developer wouldn't pay any offsite improvement costs, estimated cost of 12.6 million, when their offsite levies are only $800,000. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Stashik. Mayor Nissen.
Thank you. And through the chair to administration, given the wording of this consensus here, it's my understanding with offsite levies, the developers don't pay extras for the offsite levies themselves. And with this one specifically for Keel Drive, you mentioned there's two components. There's an offsite component to Keel Drive and there's an onsite component to Keel Drive. So given this consensus on the floor, what is administration's take on what potential charges this consensus would apply to?
Through the chair to all the committee, I would take this consensus to be go back again, double check our reports, and if Keel Drive has been used in the calculation of the offsite levies for the arterial road section, then we wouldn't charge the developer anything, and we would take on 100% of that cost. That's how I would interpret that. I think that in this particular circumstances, it's typically my department that, takes on the negotiation with developers with the best interests of the town in mind, with also trying to spur the development as well. We know that council's expectations on us to try and work with developers to get these developments to happen. And I feel what we put forward was very generous.
So to be clear, with this consensus, the way it's worded, you would see that as covering off or putting on to the municipality's responsibility the full cost for Keel Drive, both off-site and the developer's on-site costs as well.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I will not be supporting this motion as it stands. I'm not interested in paying the developers on-site costs. That's their job. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Committee, any other further comments or questions on the direction? Councilor Taylor?
Yeah, just a point, this understanding of what offsite levies are for. This is not the common understanding up there with developers that I talked to, but. So maybe if you don't pass this, next time we have a training course with them, we could explain that. They're pretty adamant that offsite levies cover construction costs offsite. Hence the name. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Taylor. So seeing no other questions, if we can see that, Mr. Campbell. So the current motion is a committee seek consensus that in the construction costs for Keel Drive that are covered by offsite levies, that the developer shouldn't have to pay extra costs. Call that the question. Being spoke now. Kicked out?
Yes, I don't know, anyway, I'm not.
Not in favor? Okay. So that is defeated 5-1 with Councilor Taylor in favor, the rest of the committee against. All right, so committee, we also do have the recommended actions put forward by administration or any other directions see fit. Councilor Stashik?
I have a question, leading back to the question I asked earlier about what the options refer to. I just want to confirm that the recommended option from administration is that committee accepts this report and the submitted letter regarding loop and wafer information. Earlier in this discussion, I was told that that is option 1 in the options and alternatives list. Correct?
Yes.
I'm not misreading that?
Yeah, correct.
And that comes with an obligation of $12.6 million. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, and then CEO Panasic has his quick hand up there just to confirm.
Sorry, through the chair, I mean, that's subject to going through our process, but the costs were just designed, we're just wanted to reflect of this is what we are on the hook for if the development goes forward at a baseline level, without making any further concessions. So it's not any cost today, obviously, but we'd have to, enter into a development agreement, but that is our total cost if the development was to proceed.
Yes, I should follow up.
So my question to administration then is, why is that the recommended option, knowing that it's committing the town to spend $12.6 million so that this development can move ahead?
Administration, Mr. Rockland.
Through the chair of the committee, basically, by passing the offsite levy bylaw and adopting all of our municipal plans, we're committed to it. When a development comes forward, we're gonna do these improvements to keep up to development. And that's what our costs are looking at, to keep up to development if they're following all our processes and doing the development.
Yeah, my follow-up, I guess, is that that was not my understanding of how the offsite levies are applied. I spoke to it earlier. My understanding is that offsite levies are levies that are put on a developer, the total acreage of their development, that are used to help cover the cost of offsite improvements that need to be done to support the development, which may be adjacent offsite. It might be miles offsite. It might be that it's improvements to a lift station that's going to need to be done that's 5 miles away from the development because of the increased demand on the water and sewer. it was not my understanding that them paying offsite levies absolved them from having to pay for any of the offsite improvement costs. Now, am I wrong?
Mr. Remoto?
Through the councillor statute. No, you're not wrong, but many of these projects that are on this list are far away from the site. One of the large projects is an upgrade to a water line that runs right in front of the Hillcrest trailer park. And so that's going to help the whole entire area, Part 999, this development, the mall, that whole entire area. So the offsite levies are a contribution to that project that we know we need. And so there's listed projects in the offsite levy bylaw, and I think it's appropriate that, you know, we don't double charge them. And so if it's a specifically listed project in the offsite levies, then yes, the offsite levy should cover that. But if it's needed strictly because of their development, because of the extra strain and pressure their development is putting on our existing infrastructure, we have the right to charge them those additional costs for that additional pressure related strictly for their impacts of the development, which goes back to my Keel Road comments is, you know, their development is directly benefiting from that road being built, and it doesn't benefit, it benefits some others, but not a large number of others. You know, right now it's a gravel road, and if this development doesn't happen, it can stay a gravel road. But if the development happens, we need to do this project, and for that reason, I think they need to contribute.
Oh, again?
Yep.
So how are they contributing to the cost of intersection improvements at Highway 16 Keel Drive for 1.5 million, construction of 4-lane Keel Drive, including water sewer storm for 5 million, construction of stormwater pond for 250. I get the stuff that's legitimately off-site, but if we're committing to commit the town to spending 12.6 for all the off-site improvements, how are they contributing to those components that are directly due to their development?
The nature of the calculation was they took these known projects at the time that the offsite levy bylaw was passed, and they divided it across the developable lands proportionally, so that as it develops, you need to contribute. And I'm not sure if that answers the question.
No, not at all. No, I'm sorry, maybe I'm missing something. I'm sorry, but I don't understand how we're committing the town to be on the hook for all the offsite improvement costs. Where's the developer contribution for the things that are directly supporting the development of the subdivision? Namely, construction of the road, intersection improvements.
The intersection improvement, we know that the intersection is already deficient. And, you know, when and that's why we include the Qualico stuff, is Qualico would have been, you know, it was a 20-year-old agreement. It was before we had offsite levies. They were required to do the intersection because they had the direct impact. If you lump in the existing homes and still look at that as part of this development, you would make that argument, but you can't do that. This is a new developer, a new proposed development. So for that reason, I looked at it as the existing homes already put all the pressure onto the intersection. We know that Part 999 also puts additional stress on that intersection if it happens. And the traffic impact assessment we have on file listed a number of deficiencies for that existing intersection. That it was my interpretation that for the intersection improvements, the town's already on the hook for that. And that his contribution through offsite levies is the contribution that's appropriate, because we should already be putting lights in there.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Councillor Sajik. Councillor Chambers.
Thank you through the chair. So just to move to the conversation about us redoing the area structure plan, like, are we in if we take the time and spend the money to look at the area structure plan, do you believe that there's a potential that that $12 million number could substantially go down because of savings within design changes in the community, or is that 12 million just kind of a savings? I thought or sorry, not savings, that 12 million is just this is what we're gonna have to do no matter what that area structure plan looks like, because I almost feel like it's, we've inherited some of these issues and some of these designs and some of these things. And if we're gonna look at this holistically, and there's lots of things that are going on, I mean, is it prudent for us to say, okay, clearly we're all uncomfortable with 12 million and 14 million, of course, and we're confused. Sounds like other people are confused. Is it that we should spend the time to go back to the drawing board and say, hey, is this really what the community needs today, wants today? What does this look like? How does this work? And then, maybe at that point, when we have a completed different area structure plan, we do a traffic impact assessment that then can be used based on that information, understanding what our triggers are, understanding what their roles and responsibilities of people would be as they hit those triggers. Like, I don't know. Am I totally off kilter on that, or is there some potential savings and economies of scale and things like that that could happen by reviewing that West Area Structure Plan again? I guess is my question.
Thank you for the question. Mr. McLaughlin, CEO, you both got your hands up, so which one wants to go first? CEO, you wanna take this and then we tag team?
He's looks like he's letting me. Okay, the redoing the area structure plan, I believe, will reduce costs for future stages of development. And it would also solve things like, should we be building 4 lanes of Keel Drive now? Is it really gonna need 4 lanes in the future, and when? So there is the potential of saving some very large costs, but it's costs down the road. It's not going to, it may save some of this 12 million, but not lots of this 12 million. This 12 million is coming from our asset management deficit. These are projects that have been highlighted in our master plan. And the reason we haven't had to spend the money yet is because we haven't had a large amount of development. As development happens, we need to do these things. We are insufficient in water reservoir storage in the town of Hinton. We've known that for a long, long time. If you get more people and more buildings, we can't allow that to keep going. We need to build the water reservoir. The same with when you look at wastewater. The wastewater plan has like 15 projects in it with costs, and they're like, this is how you need to upgrade, and this is the #1 project, and that #1 project happens to be in line with where this development would be, that if this development happens, that project 1 that was identified in 2017 and never done needs to be done. So these are all projects that have been on the books since 2017, that when we get development, we need to do them.
Thank you.
So if I can just follow up, if that's possible.
Yeah.
So just, is it the responsible thing to go through and look at all this again? Again, I always use that analogy of we're looking at the tip of our nose, not the tip of our finger. As we have all the growth and development, are we shooting ourselves in the foot by having 2 potential big developments in this area and not having a good, robust review of that area structure plan? I don't know. Like, do you think that it's kind of opening us up to a risk, or somebody else sitting around the table in 10 years saying, geez, I wish somebody would have reviewed that area structure plan, because now this has given us all these additional issues?
Panasic, you wanna respond to that?
Sure, through the chair of the rest of the committee. Yeah, Trent and I spoke at length about this area structure plan, and it is a lot in the future phases of how this is all going to work. And it is going to be expensive over time and as development occurs in the natural stages that we've identified through that plan. But I also do believe that if we are going to look at that area structure plan, now is probably the best time. If we are going to look at development, there are designs that we could incorporate, or, you know, there's going to be engineering decisions made, you know, at around the same time that the development happens in this area, that will be based on future infrastructure needs, based on the current West Area Structure Plan, which again, you know, it all connects, it goes around the golf course. It's a very, you know, a very ambitious plan to occur over time. You know, I think that there is some savings to be had. More than that, I think that the time to look at it is likely now, while we're looking at development in this area. And the other thing that could occur is we could also make it more economically feasible to develop in the future phases or stage, I believe it's stage 2 on the west side of the golf course as well. So, you know, that's everything.
Thank you. Councilor Chambers, you're good?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Moving to Mayor Nissen and then myself. Mayor Nissen?
Thank you. Through the chair to administration, all this talk of the West Area Structure Plan is great, but taking a look at this plan as it is, are we going to have to revisit and update this West Area Structure Plan should the PAR 999 development move forward?
Through the chair to all of committee, actually, that was already done. That contentious vote that happened way back in some December, I remember, was amendment to the area structure plan that was necessary for the PAR 999 development. That's exactly what they did do, was modify the additional area structure plan for that development.
Fantastic. And what would the process look like if we were to, say, take option 3 today and revisit the West Area Structure Plan?
Through the chair to all of committee, what we would do is probably seek some better estimates and prepare a proper OBC for you to review at the next budget cycle to accomplish that.
I appreciate the OBC and I saw the CPP part. Who do we need to hire? What do we need to do to create or revisit the West Area Structure Plan? What would we be spending the money on?
Basically engineering consultants. The previous ones were developed by ISL Engineering.
Okay, thank you. I myself, and I guess what I'm hearing is currently the way the West Area Structure Plan is, moving forward with this, sure, it might save us a little bit of money in the future, but when it comes to this particular development, we're still probably looking at that 12.6 million. So is it reasonable that council could do 2 options, where if we were to accept this for information, meaning we want the development to go forward, but in parallel, we also have the motion to open up that West Area Structure Plan for the future. But, you know, because I don't want to, because I think this is housing. Previous, we don't know exactly what it is. This we know is housing. And quite frankly, I mean, 12.6 seems like a lot, but, you know, in order to develop that area, we do have to put some investment as a community into that. I'm more comfortable with that, because I know then development is gonna happen, but I think on the parallel side of things, you know, coming forward with an OBC for 2026 to start looking at what is that rest of that area gonna look like and make some savings there. So is that a reasonable, I can't make a motion or direction, but would that be a reasonable direction from committee at this point?
Through the chair to committee, I think that the most motioning both option 1 and option 3 would be fine.
Okay, so it wouldn't interfere with one or the other. That's where I guess I wanted to clarify, so thank you. I have Councillor Stashik.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So yeah, that was kind of my question. If we were to go ahead with West Area Structure Plan review, what would that do to the timelines of this development? I'm assuming it would delay it. And I'm not just
Yes.
separate from Councillor Haas's suggestion.
Mhm.
If the direction were only to do the West Area Structure Plan review, I'm assuming this would have to get delayed until that review would be completed, correct?
Through the chair to all committee, we would work with the developer on those impacts. I mean, until such time that council actually adopts a new area structure plan, this one's in play. And if someone comes forward with a development and meets all the requirements and meets this one, we're kind of bound to say yes to it. So, but then, you know, if the developer knows that we are redoing it and he wants to provide input into it, we certainly welcome those inputs. It will save him some costs, because then if he has things that don't comply and, you know, like Part 999 brought forward amendments to the area structure plan, we could incorporate those right into the drafts. So it all depends on his timelines and what he wants to do. We're already working with him to say yes to the one lot, which, you know, gets something going. We would continue to do that.
Councillor Stashik.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to take a direction. I'd like to move the recommended action. The committee accepts this report and the submitted letter regarding loop and way for information. If I can speak to it. So this is what I like about committee as a whole. I didn't really understand why the town was recommending that level of commitment from the community. I have a much better understanding of how that commitment would help promote growth, not just for this subdivision development, but other growth in the region. That said, I would also like to see a West Area Structure Plan review. So I'm gonna move this one and then we'll see what happens after that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Stashik. So just to confirm, we have a direction, the committee accepts this report and the submitted letter regarding loop and way for information. If I would speak to it, I'm in favor of this. You know, this to me will accomplish, it's fulfilling our obligations, but it's also, you know, the developer also fulfilling their obligations, and it's moving some housing forward in our community. It's also investing in that area for future as well. And I appreciate Councillor Stashik's comments that I too would be in favor of definitely opening up that area structure plan. But I think this is a good start there, and it's a worthwhile investment that I personally can, you know, bring to the citizens and say, you know, this is our community investing in housing in our community. So thank you. Anyone else want to speak to the direction? Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, I won't vote for it. I'm still unclear on too many things to be able to vote for or against something here. Too many uncertainties here.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Taylor. Anyone else? All right, so the motion again is the committee accepts this report and the submitted letter regarding loop and way for information. Call that to question, please vote now. And that is carried 5-1 with Councillor Taylor against. Committee, any other matters? Ernest?
Thank you, just bear with me for a moment. So through the chair to administration, I have another question about the area structure plan. In the package that we were given, there is a page with a tentative plan showing the proposed subdivision of the area, loop and way. And it has this proposed plan has a single road with an offshoot road on it. And when I look at our west area structure plan, it's a different structure to the roads in that area, but it's effectively the same thing. I'm curious to know, given the west area structure plan as it is today and this proposed set of drawings from the developer, would this proposed set of drawings fit within our area structure plan the way it's written, or would this, what looks to me like a minor amendment, require us to actually change the area structure plan?
Through the chair to committee, we feel that what's put forward on the paper in front of you. Is close enough that we would call that a match to the area structure plan. The only thing that's changing is, slightly larger lots, which is not a material change. That being said, we have had discussions with the developer that he would like to modify this drawing and have a direct connection to Keel Drive as well, instead of the bulb. At the end of that road, that offshoot that you're talking about. We think that would be beneficial to the area. We think it would be, but we also, we would have to review that at the planning level, but it is our gut feel at this stage that we have the ability to approve that as a minor deviation, even the connection to Keel Drive. But we would get confirmation of that and assist them in bringing forward an amendment if it was needed. But we actually feel that we have the authority to call that a variance and would be able to, that it would be a small enough impact to be able to do that.
Sure. Well, thank you very much for that, Director McLaughlin. So just so that I'm absolutely clear, when I look at this west area structure plan, in the regions where there are planned out roadways, especially not the main arterial roads, but the little neighborhood cul-de-sacs, those kinds of things. Minor deviations, that's fully acceptable for administration to work with the developer, and we don't have to change the area structure plan. What sorts of deviations do require us as a council to go back to that area structure plan?
Through the chair, it really comes down to the municipal planner's discretion on whether or not the development meets the intent of the area structure plan. So if the deviations are such that, a reasonable person would say that it no longer meets the intent, then it would come forward as an amendment.
Follow up, one more? Sure, thank you. That's fantastic. I really appreciate that information. Now, when I look at one of these area structure plan color coded sections, we've got single family residential, some medium density residential, some high density residential sections colored out in the chart. For the densities to change in the area, how much of a change threshold is there before that's something that comes back to council?
It's through the chair to all committee, and this being in the area structure plan caused quite a bit of conversation amongst us, because as you notice, this area is much more detailed than the rest of the plan, because it was actually developed by the previous landowner who asked for it to be included in the area structure plan. So because it is more detailed, we would think that deviations from this should come back for amendment. So, and the purpose of this diagram was to mark the proposed zoning and purpose, and, an indicator of density. So if it was a major change to this, we would probably bring it forward, but the lot that they are currently asking to subdivide, that we've given permission, actually matches this specifically. It's already colored in the orange color, which is medium density residential, which is what they're putting forward.
And thank you, Director McLaughlin. One more follow-up to that. If we were to revisit the area structure plan, because this one is so prescriptive and so detailed, would we actually get something back that's looser, a little bit less prescriptive, a little bit less detailed? Or what would that process, what would you expect us to get back if we were to revisit it?
Through the chair to all of the committee, I mean, that sort of depends on the style of the consultant that puts these together. But I would think that you would certainly have, you know, your proposed zoning everywhere and the layout of the roads and layout of your drainage systems and, you know, those aspects would be covered here. I think it would, you know, look very much, you know, the same in style, but probably this diagram would be just sort of shaded areas, not quite so specific.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. Moving on then to Councillor Chambers.
Thank you through the chair. I'd like to make the motion that committee directs administration to bring forward a CPP for the 2026 budget process on the development of a new West Area Structure Plan and required amendments to the Master Utilities Plan. And if I can speak to it, I don't necessarily think that it's going to have a great impact on anything, obviously, right in these moments. This is a long-term thinking plan, but I think it gives, number one, newer council some direction on, you know, moving ahead in a pretty critical part of our community and also just looking at, you know, do those densities and all those things that we talked about 20 years ago, do they still match the needs of the community today and the needs of council and the needs of what we think about density within the communities and our housing crisis and all, like, there's just a lot of things I think that maybe could still be talked upon. So yeah, I think it would be important work to get into and hopefully make some conversations easier down the road for future development.
Thank you, Councillor Chambers. So committee, we have a direction that committee directs administration to bring forward a CPP for the 2026 budget process on the development of a new West Area Structure Plan, required amendments to the master utility plans. So if we could make comments to this direction, I do have myself in queue. A quick question to Ms. Borbeau, well, I'm assuming, like, in the report, you know, with option one, you know, we're looking at a debenture, potentially, right, to cover the cost, but, option three, this particular motion is 50,000 to 100,000. So just out of curiosity, where would those funds come from? That's my question.
Sorry, just give me a moment, please, if you wouldn't mind, Chair.
Yep.
Through to all of committee, right now, without council having had the opportunity to go through and redistribute some of the reserve funding, we would be looking at the general municipal operating reserve. And my apologies, I do not have the updated balance but I believe there would be enough in there to cover it.
Understandable, yeah, but I appreciate that, it would come from reserves, sorry. Okay, thank you. Committee, any other comments or questions on the direction? Councillor Taylor?
Not against this necessarily, but is this the area of town that if we were to do additional planning, you would suggest we concentrated on? Or was there another area that's even more important to do this level of planning?
Through the chair to all committee, really, we only have two area structure plans. We have an east and a west.
Okay.
So I think I think this is the right side to do. At one point, there was a south area structure plan. It was developed, but council chose not to adopt it, and that would cover the area that is, you know, predominantly crown lands and in and around the future bypass in that area. So there was a potential third one, but it never got adopted.
Thank you.
And then have myself, I'll be in favor of this. You know, I think this actually is good timing because we're currently, administration is working on looking at other areas of rezoning. And opening up those lands to potential developers through the real estate agents. So that, and then with having this, then in the future, you know, people looking around in our community, looking at, you know, we're looking at the West Area Structure Plan. I think could be potential there as well for future development. So I think this is a good time to do it, along with still you know, supporting the current development that we supported in the first motion, so, thank you. Committee, any other comments or questions on the direction? Seeing none, then we will call the question. The committee directs administration to bring forward a CPP for the 2026 budget process and on the development of a new West Area Structure Plan and required amendments to the Master Utilities Plan. Please vote now. Great, thank you, committee, and I understand, Councilor Chambers, you have to leave us, so thank you for joining us. So Jen, if you can mark that time. Excellent. All right, anything further on 5.2 Lupin Way? Seeing none, so we'll move on to our correspondence, 6.1. These are letters from Sherry Powers on Wandi Avenue. Committee? Mayor Nissen?
See consensus to accept the correspondence package for information.
Thank you, Mayor Nissen. For that to come up and. Committee, we have consensus that committee seek consensus to accept the correspondence for information. Any comments, questions? Seeing none, then we'll call the question. Please vote now. And that is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. We'll move on to reporting. So council reports. I'll start to my left with Councilor Race.
Nothing to report, sir.
Okay, and Councilor Taylor.
Oh, well, since this is likely my last meeting, I haven't submitted my formal resignation letter. I'm going to submit that when the sale is finalized and I have the money. I'd like to say that it's been a privilege to work with the you guys. We haven't always agreed, but we've been able to work in a stable environment for most of the 4 years, and I've appreciated that. And it's been a privilege to represent the town of Hinton as a counselor. And I think a couple of the things that I think that we've done that I appreciate, one is just had a stable and positive working relationship with administration. Administration has been stable and positive, and I've always felt that you've worked in our best interests. We haven't always maybe agreed on everything, like we haven't agreed on everything, but that's a healthy environment as far as I'm concerned. So I think that's led us to move forward on a lot of things, and I think that's one of the ways that's measured in my mind is the lower turnover rate and the fact that people actually want to come and work here. So that's a really good thing that's happened. I think everybody is contributing towards that. And another thing is the progress we've made on the water treatment. I think the challenges that this council or the next council are going to face into the future are going to be sort of the rec center, however you sort that out. And the other challenge would be trying to grow the town and get the town growing so that we can start contributing more revenue to the town, however we're going to do that. And I see that as a challenge both on the council and both on administration. Maybe past ways of doing things are no longer good, but thank you very much for the opportunity to work with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Taylor.
But there's a chance that I might be here next week if the 1 in 1,000 sale doesn't fall through, but I think it'll be okay. But when it goes ahead, I'll submit this resignation because I don't want to represent Hinton from Grand Prairie.
Excellent.
And I'm leaving for personal reasons, because my wife, because we're going after going to follow the grandchildren, so that's important to us at this stage of our life. Thanks.
Thanks, Councilor Taylor. Councilor Stashik.
Mr. Chair, I have nothing.
Okay, and Mayor Nissen.
Thank you. Through the chair to committee, last week in correspondence, we had a letter from the Alberta Electoral Boundaries Commission. They have now set dates for hosting a series of public meetings across the province in order to discuss their work in setting our electoral boundaries at the provincial level. That public meeting is going to be held in Hinton on Thursday, June 19th from 9 a.m. to noon. Councilors, I've emailed you all a copy of the email so you can register if you so choose. Unfortunately, I wanted to attend, but myself and Council Race are going to be in a Community Futures Board meeting and AGM that day. So if anyone from council is available and wants to attend, that is happening June 19th. And then, as it is Councillor Taylor's potential last meeting with us today, I would like to thank Councillor Taylor on behalf of council and the town of Hinton for your service to our community. Thank you very much, and we wish you the best of luck in your retirement.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And myself, I have nothing to report at this time, but I also want to extend, it's been a pleasure working with you and, you know, all the best in the future of the grandkids. So thank you. All right, moving on then to monthly, our Chief Administrative Officer, Theo Panasic, you have, provided us a monthly operating highlights. Any comments on your side?
No, thanks, Jared. Nothing else, but if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer. And I just wanted to, you know, extend my my appreciation to Councillor Stewart as well. And yeah, all the best to you in your move and with your family. And yeah, hopefully your sale goes through. I'll yeah, wait to hear from you.
Thanks, Theo. Councillor Taylor has a question.
Yeah, sort of. I got an email from somebody that was talking about the costs for the rec center. I gave them what the costs of the rec center were based on our strategic planning initiative. And then they said somewhere there was reported costs that were different than the costs that I gave that were much bigger. Have we put out costs that are much bigger than the strategic planning session? Or maybe they misread some online post. We haven't changed those numbers, have we?
No, the document that we provided to council was based on the most recent engineering update. So those are the numbers that we have that we're utilizing. I'm not aware of anything else that indicated that the costs were much higher.
Thank you. Councillor Taylor. I myself, thank you. I have a couple of questions, CEO Panasic. All of council received an email recently on the short-term rentals, and I know Councillor Race forwarded it off to you. There was some concerns on, you know, that the numbers are a lot higher than what is proposed, almost 300 or so. But I'm just curious if administration have had an opportunity to kind of review that email and if there's any comments on the current status of our short-term rentals. I see in the statistics, it refers to 8. I guess my question is that 8 that are registered, or is that 8 that have enforcement files on, or I'm just curious on that.
Which page?
So it's under protective services in the monthly operating highlights. And it's got statistics, municipal enforcement, total calls 32, municipal enforcement inspections, there's 8, so that's the inspections. Okay, so any comments on the current enforcement of short-term rentals and where the contractor is at? Because I know you mentioned that they were working on trying to sift out which are real and still current. Any comments on that?
Through to the committee, I wouldn't say there's any more updates since the last time the question was asked, and I provided the answer. We did send out some fines. We've had a lot of people come in and work towards compliance, which is our goal. And we continue to work with our software developer to improve our data to look for them. I would say that, the number of potentials went way down once we started, to look at that. So, yeah, I think we're making progress. I think there's a lot less unlicensed ones out there at the moment, and there's still lots of room for licenses with the cap that council said.
Okay, thank you. Is there a comment on how many would you say are currently right now licensed in our community?
I wouldn't wanna throw
Throw it
it
in
out
there.
without actually looking it up and being accurate, but I'm happy to email council that answer.
Okay, that'd be great, thank you. I have another question actually, and it's more of bringing up a matter. Recently it's been brought to my attention by a couple of users that wanted to use that or are using the Hinton Center. And apparently the sign, electronic sign is another sign that's completely outdated. In fact, the user groups were concerned that they were paying for advertisement to use the sign. But unfortunately, the contractor said the sign is not usable. Currently what's going across it, they cannot change. And the software is extremely, dated. And so I'm just curious, has administration got any reports from the contractor on the electronic signs of the Hinton Center? And is that something, if so, is that something that we're gonna see in the future? Any comments?
Through the committee, I would have to talk with our building maintenance and get back to you. I'm not aware of that issue.
Yeah, my only concern is the Hinton Center is a major, venue for our community and not being able to advertise the events that are going to be currently, using it. I would hope that, I would hope the contractor is informing the town that if that service is unavailable, then it can be looked at in the future. So just wanted, I guess, to bring it then to your attention that, that's why it's about one message and one message only. And it cannot be changed at this time apparently, so. Okay. All right, any other questions for CEO Panasic and his report from committee? Seeing none, then we'll look for a motion. We have two agenda items in closed session, mutual performance and council self-evaluation toolkit. So I'm looking for a motion to move into closed. Council Race,
I'll make that motion.
thank you. Give that a moment. Perfect, and I'll call the question. The committee moved into closed session at 7:25 PM. Please vote. Thank you, everybody. That's, carried unanimously. We'll take a 5-minute break before you.